You mentioned upgrades for China macro. You're at 6% for this year, yes? B of A just went from 5.5 to 6.3. How closely aligned are you with the drivers behind much higher the consensus growth? Because officials there are saying at or around 5, right?
The key driver is really consumption and services. So this is a pretty different economy, pretty different recovery, I should say, than we've often seen in the past, which typically the China recovery has been driven by property, by exports, kind of the goods-centric, commodity-centric recovery that spills over a lot into regional activity. This recovery, because it's about mobility returning, consumer and services activity, will have somewhat smaller spillovers. But as you mentioned, given the upcoming holiday, that we should see more international travel. We are seeing travel bookings up a lot. And as the year progresses, we think we'll see more spillovers from Chinese tourists going back out into the region. That should particularly benefit some of the smaller open economies, including places in Southeast Asia. So there will be spillovers from China's recovery. They'll just be different and probably not quite as large as we've seen in past China's recoveries.
Andrew, I know you think that China's property problems are going to stay unresolved. How much of a drag potentially could that be on growth, and also how much of a challenge could that pose to your six-even forecast?
Well, property's been one of the key shifts in terms of the drivers of potential growth in China. 10, 15 years ago, we estimate that property, broadly speaking, including the materials going into property, construction, services, and the downstream impacts on fiscal resources for local governments and the spending they do, you wrap all that up, that property value chain was probably contributing 2 or 3 percentage points to China's annual growth. That slowed somewhat pre-crisis and pre-COVID, and then was minus 2% last year. That subtracted about 2% from China's growth last year. Going forward, we think it'll be a small negative, maybe about 0.5 percentage point, as you have lower demographic need for new construction, the lower rate of urbanization, lower rate of population growth, and therefore less need for housing construction. So property will be a small drag, and China will need to find growth from other places, in particular from consumption.